everyone, welcome to the show. I am so excited. I get excited about many things, big things, little things. I get excited about chocolate. Just saying. Today I'm excited because I get to do this show. I get to find out what makes people tick. How did they get from point A to point B? You know how some people set a goal and they go straight for it? Nothing deters them, almost like they have blinders on. Then there are others who take the scenic route. Sort of the way my kids went through high school. Come to think of it, I did high school the same way. Our guest today is Brian Martin, and I'm excited to find out what route he took and to ask him if he brought me chocolate. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brian Martin. Brian, thanks very much for being here.
I'm excited to be here, Nancy. Looking forward to it.
Important question. Did you bring me chocolate?
It was too warm.
Oh, gosh, okay. You could have brought chocolate ice cream.
Maybe next time.
All right.
If you have me back.
I will, definitely. So on your bio, it says you returned home to the Fraser Valley. Where were you?
Was gone for about 30 years. My career took me to a lot of different places in Canada, from Nanaimo to Winnipeg to Toronto, back to Vancouver, back to Toronto, a quick stop, or maybe not so quick, but about 7 years in Boston, back to Toronto, and now I'm back here. So it's been a long journey home.
And who were you working for? Was it the same company all along?
It was a few different companies, and some actually hopped back and forth between them. So I started out originally with a division of the Hudson's Bay Company for the Zellers division, initially in the stores, and then an interesting role in regional operations. And then from there I moved into human resources, and so that took me into a lot of different areas. But what I learned in the operations role was that people want to do well in the workplace. I found a lot of people that didn't feel they had been set up for success. And what they really needed was training. So part of the job that I had required me to go into stores and do sort of random audits that would be reported back to headquarters. And initially, people would be kind of afraid when I would show up because they thought they were going to get into trouble. And what I realized quickly was, once you just sort of acknowledge what's not working and say, look, now that we know what's not working, let's put a plan together and figure out what it is that we can do to get you back on track, people became more receptive. And so it was that sort of teaching, learning, coaching space that I guess the senior folks decided that I would have a career in human resources.
So is that what you're doing now?
Actually, I am doing a blend of that now. So I do, basically my company is a boutique consulting and coaching firm. It's called Made to Measure Performance and Engagement Solutions. And really what we do is help small, medium-sized companies and their people, so their employees, leaders, teams, feel more energized about the work that they're trying to accomplish, while at the same time accomplishing more. Because I think those are the kind of the two metrics that most businesses struggle with. How do my people feel? How are they performing? And how is my business performing? And am I generating the revenue I need? Am I gaining the profit that I need for myself and for the shareholders? Small business owners that haven't had the benefit that I've had of working in big organizations with big learning infrastructures. And so I think I can bring a blended experience of both operations and human resources to help them, really focus on what I think are the two most important measures for business: performance and engagement.
Right. I just have thinking about when you were a lad, what did you imagine yourself doing when you grew up?
Great question. I initially saw myself in marketing. And I still have a bit of a passion for marketing. So, and maybe not so much marketing as it is branding, so that provides a creative outlet for me. But I did see myself helping people, being an advocate in some way. And I think the role of human resources in organizations today is about advocacy. But I've always believed in, I can be loud and I can be directive, and I'm not afraid of conflict. And so sometimes people have a difficult time expressing what it is they want or need, and so I always saw myself in that type of work.
Right. So how do businesses find you?
I've got a website, and I'm starting to do a little bit more on social media, but primarily my business tends to come through connections, somebody that's struggling, and referrals. And the thing I'm most proud about is the people that I've done business with always come back for more. So sometimes they approach me with one small project, and that can become a bigger project.
Hold on, we'll be right back after the short break. We're back. So Brian, I'm just wondering, I was going to ask you this before the break, if you have any special interests.
The Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and it's actually sponsored out of Tennessee. It's a program that Dolly started. Many of your viewers probably know her, but she grew up in a sharecropper's family. They were very poor, they didn't have a lot of money, and they actually didn't have any books. And one of the regrets that she had for her father, who was actually illiterate, he never learned how to read or write.
Wow.
And Dolly always said he was one of the smartest men that she knew, but she could also tell that the fact that he couldn't read and write held him back in terms of his own sense of self-confidence and esteem. And it started with a program with the hospital, and basically they started providing all newborns with books, and books from the time that they're born to the time that they go to school. And what I love about the program is it is kind of evidence-based, so they were able to do sort of what I would call an impact study in Tennessee, where they looked at kids that participated in the program and kids that didn't participate in the program, and then they were able to assess their readiness for kindergarten. And of course the group that was receiving the books and spending time with their families scored much higher. And there's a lot of statistics that show that when somebody does well in the first few years of school, that they're more likely to do well in the later years.
That's awesome. Well, how did you get involved to begin with?
Well, I had just returned to the Fraser Valley, and to be honest with you, I was really shocked by the amount of poverty and drug abuse and homelessness, and I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed by it. It was very different from when I lived here 30 years ago. And at the same time, there was an article in the local paper, Maxwell Newhouse, who had just been selected by the curation committee on the Imagination Library. So I read about it, and it got me thinking about the Imagination Library. I'd heard about it at some of Dolly's concerts. I'd been to Dollywood and kind of...
You did?
Yeah, I've been there. I've made the trek to Dollywood.
Did you meet her? Sorry to interrupt.
I didn't meet her.
Oh.
I didn't meet her, but I got to go on her bus. So I thought that
there
was
you
pretty
go.
good, and I got to see some of her costumes from some of the legendary movies that she's been in. So I was familiar with the library, and I liked sort of who she is as a person, her character, and her values, and I thought that might be a great fit for my business, for Made to Measure. And so on a whim, I just reached out to them, sent an email, and thought if it's meant to be, I'll hear back from them. And I did. I heard back within a couple hours, and within 2 days we were on a webcast call, and I was really impressed after I spoke to some of their people there, and that's how it all started.
So you're instrumental in bringing it to this area?
Yeah, I think it was an opportunity that I came across, and then of course other people, some great people within the community have joined, and other not-for-profits have gotten involved. So
Right.
together we're pulling together an advisory committee, and we have our first few kids enrolled, so we're starting small, but
nice.
it's taking off. And what I'm really excited about is the community support has been really overwhelming. I mean, we know that it's going to take some time to get up and running and for us to have the big impact that we'd like to have, but it's starting small, and I think it will sort of grow organically into something that's really meaningful. Even though it originated in the United States, they're really sensitive to the fact that each country has their own unique values, their own unique history and culture, and they want to make sure that that's represented in the book selection. So the goal is that each age group would have 2 out of the 12 selections for that year representative of the Canadian culture and our values, which is nice.
So, okay, so explain to me and everybody watching that, how do the children get these books? Like, how is that connected?
It's basically based on somebody registering the child. So in most cases that's a parent, or it might be a relative. They register the child. If the funding's available, so in other words, if we've received enough funding from our sponsors and different individuals that donate, then the child is accepted and the books are sent directly to their home. It takes about 8 to 10 weeks from the time that the child is approved, and then the books are shipped directly in their name, directly to the mailbox. And that's kind of an exciting part of the program.
Yes.
Is that kids get to go and find out whether or not their book has arrived, and it's something specific for them.
So currently, is it just in Chilliwack?
We're starting with our primary focuses in Chilliwack, but we actually cover what we're calling the Fraser Valley. So from Harrison Hot Springs to Hope to Mission, as far south as Langley. For families that are struggling, we all know that it's difficult to survive and put a roof over your head and look after your kids and all the many needs. It's an opportunity to put books in the homes that they might otherwise not be able to afford. And the statistics are, incredible around the impact that it has on little ones' lives. And it's just 15 minutes a day. 50 minutes a day. Not only is the book important, but the time spent with the parent also helps them develop sort of the deeper social and emotional connections, which are also important part of development.
Right. Well, let's just say for a minute that I had a grandchild being born, and I personally wanted to do it and donate the money. Like, could I do that, or is it all?
Yes, you can. The only thing is we can't issue you a tax receipt, but you definitely could enroll your child, and we accept contributions. If you go to our website, basically you just need to fill out the enrollment form, send it in along with the check, and we'll take it from there.
Oh, that sounds really good. Now, I just wanted to check on something a little bit different at the moment, because you said you came back to the Fraser Valley. So, is home Chilliwack?
Another great question. I mean, I think of home as the many parts that I've lived in Canada, in the United States. But I would say that if I think about my childhood, I definitely spent most of the years of my childhood in Chilliwack. And most important, my family members are here. So my mom and stepfather now live here. I have a sister that's in town, aunts and uncles, and my grandparents lived here. So those were great years. So it's great to be back.
Cool, that's awesome. I think we're out of time here, but listen, I really appreciate you coming, and I think you should be back. Come in the colder weather so you can bring some chocolate.
You got it. You pick the date and I'll be there.
All right. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. Peace out.